Hello, everyone. I'm Matt. Welcome to Telling Tales. I'm typing things in the wrong chat already. It's a good night. It's a good night. Welcome to Telling Tales, as I've already said, and welcome to Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, specifically London Ascendant, our ongoing campaign. We hope the evening finds you well. I'll drop a load of blurb on your heads first, and then we'll introduce the players and get going. So there's plenty of links down below. There's social media, which is usually but not always Telling Tales RP. There is our Patreon, where you can support us if you want. There's our YouTube, where most of our VODs, in fact, all of our VODs go, and you can go there and follow us there and watch us on that and just just do everything. Watch Twitch, watch YouTube, watch me stumble over really easy words in the opening of a stream. Why not? It's all fun. And I just realized I haven't introduced Steve yet. It's going so well. We have a stream manager. He's called Steve. He'll pop up. Hello, Steve. He shuffles things around on screen like cameras and pictures and souls and concepts and fundamental underpinnings of the universe. And he also will hit you in chat if you're an asshole. So he's got many skills. All good fun. Thank you, Steve. We have another ongoing series that's weekly as well. Simbroom on Wednesday nights. It also starts at 8 o'clock GMT. Come watch us play that if you fancy. We also now do monthly one-shots. We did our first one this weekend just gone, in fact, for the Alien RPG entitled A Place of Burning. It was 6 hours of fun and torment. And you can still catch it on Twitch, or you can go over and see the kind of episodic VODs on YouTube. I can see the people below already shaking their heads at me at just the absolute mess I'm making of this. So without any further ado, let's start with the intros and the recaps. So first off, we're going to bring on Neill today. Neill plays Alex Taylor Brown, who is our resident Malkavian doomsayer, etc. Hello, Neill.
Good evening. Last session was most productive for Alex, and of perhaps most significant import to Alex was a conversation with Oscar. Oscar had apparently become quite upset, Alex leaving him for dead and not running to assist him and instead hiding in a museum. Meditating in a museum. So they hashed this out, and now I believe everything is fine.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Pierre will agree on that everything is just fine. I believe Alex also got up to some stuff at the nightclub with Arthur, Club Valiant.
Yes, mainly just examining and feeding preferences, having important discussions about sharing of blood and the like.
Absolutely. And speaking of that nightclub and blood and stuff, let's bring on our second player of the evening. It's John, and John has some character art, some new character art for us, done by our very own Pierre. So hey, say hello to vampire-y. Is he in the middle of a rage? He looks too sexy to be angry. But that's Arthur Norris. He's our Ventru. He's right there at the intersection of pharmacologist and capitalist, isn't he?
Pretty much. I think the prompt that Pierre gave, like the inspiration, was blood orgy. So
Sure.
I'm okay with this.
I like that Arthur keeps his shirt so clean during a blood orgy.
He's a very clean eater.
He is. Well, you say that, but he did need to literally have a change of clothes the other session.
That wasn't someone else's blood, though.
No, sure. So what did Arthur get up to last week?
Last week, Arthur made a new friend called Harry. Arthur made a deal to peddle Harry's drugs. Is that Harry or Henry?
It is Harry.
It was Harry. Arthur smashed a mirror in the midst of making the deal, which isn't a foreboding thing at all, and then drank some blood. And that was pretty much Arthur's evening.
That was
a good evening.
And a good evening it was. And while this was going on, while Alex and Arthur were dallying at Club Valiant in Soho, there was more going on, and that more involved Justin, our third player, and player of Mandrel, our resident Nosferatu craftswoman and architect. And Mandrel had to go out and get some good old technology.
Mandrel and Oscar went to a pawn shop or pawnbrokers where they could recover some rescued goods, including a laptop and some security cameras, which they could use to secure the haven and look at the data stick.
Absolutely, and I believe we bumped into there. Is it because we had a Harry and a Larry, right? And Larry was the pawnbroker guy.
Yeah.
And not only did Larry give us that, but Larry also supplied us with a ring which had a bull insignia on it. A
golden bull ring, which Oscar took off, which may come to be relevant later. Probably,
but not the kind of ring that goes through the nose.
No, a ring on the finger. A ring on the finger. And speaking of Oscar Kane's acquisition, let's bring on Pierre, our final player. And after Oscar and Mandrel came back to Down Street, everyone the next evening, I think, had an appointment after being told so by Arshad, Oscar's ghoul, to go see the Elders at London's Underground Amphitheatre. So how did that go, Oscar?
Yes, well, we showed up to this weird techno amphitheater thing. Everything was shrouded in darkness. On one side, we saw our elders, or some of our elders, and on the other side, we saw Harry Mears, and
I could say that Henry Mears.
Sorry,
that one's
Henrys are all over the place.
You said Harry and Larry, and I was like, Henry and Henry.
We did. We had a Harry, a Larry, and a
Henry and Henry, indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, yes, anyway, Henry Mears, he was on the other side. This was the pretender to the prince of the new Prince of London, I guess, that throne. He sort of timidly suggested maybe that he should do this. And then he was a little bit rude to win. And then the next thing we knew, he was flying through the air and had been hit brutally. And I don't know if he's alive. So it looks like he's probably not going to become prince anytime soon.
No. And probably not going to take much further part in this discussion. So that's more or less where we ended up. I think there was a little bit of talk from other characters in it around what the rest of the evening might contain. But hey, it's going to contain that stuff tonight, so we might as well just crack on with it rather than recap it. So, yes, you know what, Steve, pop up that picture of London's amphitheatre gallery for us. There it is, lovely. It's like Tron, but in ancient Rome. Yeah. You're in there, as I said. The elders are gathered among the ruins of the amphitheatre to the left there, and you're kind of spaced out at various points before them. For regular viewers, I'll just give a real quick list of the characters that are present at this. We've got Wynne, we have Aurora Van Brand, Jazz Wentworth, Grendel, Cortland Layton, Astrid Thomas, Gilbert Duane, and Oscar Anasoff. Those are all members of the Camarilla mission to retake London, apart from Oscar Anasoff, who's one of the local London landlords and kind of spokesperson of them in a way for them and the Compact, which is the alliance that they have formed. So, after the let's just have a bit of placement here. What's everyone's visual reaction been like to these immediate events, to Henry Mears being backhanded across the room and then things kind of proceeding as if almost nothing has happened? And let's run across one by one. So, John, what's Arthur's reaction to any of this, if anything?
I think initial surprise at violence breaking out in what is effectively Elysium, but not really. It's quickly replaced with, he probably deserved that. That's how it goes.
Sure.
Moving on.
So And again, for people not 100% familiar with Vampire, Elysium are the areas of the city where vampire law is decided and where vampire society can interact without fear of things like violence, or at least direct violence. Political violence is always encouraged. Neill, what's Alex's take on this?
Alex looks perfectly normal and calm and serene as normal, except for perhaps the slightest hint of a smile at one corner of the mouth.
I wonder why that could be.
No reason.
So, Justin, how does Mandrill feel about these events?
Well, Mandrill had already positioned herself somewhere towards the edge of the room, but now, after her previous warm reception of the princes at the start of the meeting, she's probably trying to make sure that not the princes, my God, but the landlords. My goodness, what a slip of the tongue! Exactly, that's the kind of thing that'll get Mandrill in trouble, and so she's definitely moving as quietly as she can, so that she looks like she's more associated with her group, and trying to make it very clear that in no way was the welcoming of the landlords an endorsement of this situation.
Sure. And finally, what's Oscar's reaction to this, Pierre?
I don't think I was focusing on Wynne when he started moving, and so my reaction is I flinch very obviously, and I am totally shocked.
Sure.
At this thing.
If it helps, I think if Oscar had been focusing on Wynne, he still wouldn't have seen him move.
Yeah, probably.
So there we go. Okay. So yeah, exactly. So I think what's happening now is kind of like maybe your culture is even kind of tuned out slightly as a discussion kind of comes about. One of the last things that happened is that Cortland, on behalf of the elders, kind of made it clear to Oscar Anasoff, that this mission considers themselves the new presence of the Camarilla in their rightful city of London, and that while the territories of the landlords will be respected, it should be very clear that they're there as part of a mission on behalf of the inner council of the Camarilla, and as such, they consider themselves to be in charge, certainly. What follows is a kind of tentative back and forth between Cortland Layton and Oscar Anasoff, describing the terms of this and going over some just nuances of how the compact works. And while maybe that might be an interesting thing to cover if we were a really politically oriented story, I'm not going to, because your characters are probably as bored by it as the viewers would be. And essentially it's just talking about, well, you say the territory will be respected. How will it be respected? Where will feeding rights be concerned, etc., etc. But it eventually all comes down to the fact that everything will be as it is in a regular Camarilla city. Only apart from a prince, you've got these elders here. That's essentially it. Yes, Alex.
I take it there was no mention of Alicia.
None.
Just making sure.
Cortland rightly points out that, as Mr. Mears rightly pointed out, there is no prince. And let us not assume that all the other laws and traditions, fully apply, as this place is not yet under the complete iron fist of the Camarilla. But there are important things to respect, like the chain of command, i.e. the inner council, and what they say and what their representatives in the city say. Oscar seems essentially to go along with all of this, as far as you can tell. And as this kind of goes back and forth over time, and the elders themselves are looking somewhat bored by this, or various of them are. Gilbert Duane is definitely not bored. He's constantly pacing his eyes between everyone in the room in his usual slightly paranoid fashion. And Oscar eventually kind of shrugs over a point of contention about where feeding rights end between. I do keep saying Oscar. I mean Oscar Anasoff.
I also shrug at the same time.
Yeah, just unified Oscar shrugging. Anasoff shrugs and says, "Well, I think perhaps the compact has an issue at the moment, and I feel that if it is to be the case that the inner circle are the people who are to be looked to for leadership in London, then perhaps they can help us take care of it. Cortland kind of straightens his suit a little bit and says, well, yes, of course, obviously, we cannot claim authority without claiming the duties that come with it. Isn't that correct? He turns back to the elders behind him, and they kind of gaze at him with a certain amount of, just go ahead and get on with this, other than Astrid Thomas, the Tremere elder, who nods and says, as is only right. Cortland turns back and says, well, yes, so perhaps you could inform us what we can help you with. Anasoff nods and says, well, anarchs. There are anarchs in Camden. This is not news for those of us who have lived here a long time. But they are here now. They have arrived relatively recently. And they are dangerous, causing a scene, more or less nightly. They should be dealt with, or they will bring everything down on us. The Inquisition, everything. Cortland kind of wrinkles his brow and says, I suppose that does, yes. Mr. Anasoff, could you give us the room, please, while we have an internal discussion? Anasoff kind of nods. He's been standing there in his kind of old, battered corduroys and jacket with his soft kind of felt old Russian kind of communist-style cap held quite in quite a humble fashion to his chest, and he just bows his grotesque features and strides out of the room, and the door is slammed shut by the ghouls. Cortland kind of visibly relaxes a little bit, turns to the elders, kind of raises his eyes, and Astrid says, oh, for God's sake, you don't need our instructions for everything. You know what to do. Cortland looks a bit taken aback by this, turns around and says, yes, well, this seems like a job for you, doesn't it?
I suppose so. We are here after all.
And unfortunately, obviously, there are another 2 coteries taking care of various bits and pieces around the city, but as you well know, one of them is primarily concerned with looking for a home right now, yes? A secure haven. And the other, well, they're busy.
Lots of sorting things to do in the museum, I guess.
Why did the landlords not deal with this problem?
Well, I suspect it's a case of manpower.
Okay.
Plus, Camden is rather dangerously close to central London, yes? And they seem to consider central London something of a no man's land, yes? But we have proved this is not the case. Look at you, thriving over at Down Street.
Absolutely.
I am sure that we will continue to prove this with the handling of these anarchs.
At this point, Cortland is slightly taken aback as Gilbert Duane kind of walks up alongside him, having said nothing through this entire interaction, and he kind of leans forward and says, "You gotta bring them all back here. You gotta bring them all back here, or kill them. Bring them back or kill them, because we have to know everything about what's going on. You let one of them in. And the next night, you got tens, hundreds, thousands. He's dressed in his usual. Let's have a picture of Gilbert up because we haven't had Gilbert up for a while. He doesn't have the water pistol out.
But he does have a water pistol.
You can only hypothesize about the existence of Gilbert Dwayne's water pistol.
He's less threatening without the water pistol.
Yeah.
I like to imagine he's got it tucked into like the band of his trousers or something.
Yeah.
And not subtly use the bright green colours of it.
Yeah.
He's joined on his other side by Aurora Van Brand, the capable individual you dealt with when you met what remained of the Sabat pack, who sort of leans forward past him and says, "I think what Mr. Dwayne is trying to say." At the mention of his name, Gilbert kind of flinches slightly and looks at Aurora as though she kind of obfuscated in next to him, which she most definitely did not do. I think what Mr. Dwayne is trying to say is that if Annex find a place to be agreeable and safe, especially a place as relatively little populated with kindred as London is now, word will be sent out, their population will swell, and inevitably this will lead to a crackdown. This crackdown could affect us as much as it does them. While I respect Mr. Dwayne's opinion to bring them back here or kill them all, I would like to offer some clarity on that. Either wipe them out or secure their ringleaders and keep them in a safe location for us until we have time to take them off your hands, or, if you can, persuade them to either toe the line or leave. We don't want Annex in London, but neither are we in a situation where we can afford to engage in pitched warfare with a foe with superior numbers. A laconic voice from the back of the room, Jazz Wentworth, says, "Yes, you'd know a little about that, wouldn't you, Van Brand?" She completely ignores him.
All right. Kill, talk, or kidnap. That's a plan, I suppose.
Do we have any information on these people? Aside from what we currently know.
I am sure that Oscar K, the other Oscar, I am sorry, can give us more information. And he is right outside.
Absolutely. I was just wondering if there was anything that we should know that he should not.
Cortland says, "Well, obviously, if information can be conserved, that is sometimes useful. But since Anosov brought this to our attention, I might consider him the primary source on this. Yes, have a word with him when he comes back in. And there's something else as well." He kind of glances behind him at Wynne, and Wynne, who's kind of leaning with his back against a large remnant of a Roman pillar again, after taking his rest from backhanding Henry Mears across the room, kind of walks forward a little bit. And let's bring them up. It's always good to have a reminder of what Wynne looks like. He steps forward and says, "We need to secure as much of the old London hierarchy as we can. Anosov's a start. There'll be more."
When you say secure, as in bring them over or bring them in?
Try to bring them into the fold. We've got two names, Leighton Cortland sort of says, yes, Rowena, one of the former sheriffs of London, is apparently still active and is considered one of the compact. Also, he's kind of rifling through his pockets essentially to try and get out a little list of names, and he draws it out and says, "Oh yes, and Rose Abawi. Abawi, is that how it's pronounced?" No one responds to him, and he says, "Yes. Well, apparently the child of Regina Blake, the old one of the old bigwigs in Queen Anne's court."
Did she have any authority herself, or is she just lucky enough to be well connected?
Well connected, I think. We're not entirely sure whether her sire survived the events, but it seems that she did. She is also a part of the compact. Anasoff has unfortunately been somewhat reticent in pulling out details of the landlords, where they each control, and so on and so forth. Something to do with, not maintaining this information publicly as to aid in the secreting away from the Inquisition. Yes, but you're resourceful types. I'm sure you'll be able to put your hands on them. I mean, talk to them.
Oh, I'm sure we can rustle up some information from somewhere.
Yes. But regardless, yes. So the Annex and Rowena and Rose, if you could. We do trust Mr. Anasoff somewhat, but it's always good to have a backup.
Okay, sensible.
Wynne shoots Cortland a kind of sidelong glance and says, "We need everyone." He stalks back and leans back against the pillar.
And should someone not want to join the fold, do we report them or try and deal with them ourselves?
I would guess that depends on circumstance, yes. It is more important at the moment that we maintain the ability to carry out further little jobs than risk our operatives. But having said that, if someone is a clear and present threat, then perhaps you could see your way to dealing with that. Aurora says, with finality.
All right, then.
Gilbert leans forward and says, "Every last one of them."
Yes.
I look at Alex. When Gilbert is talking, do I think that Alex is reacting in any way, like going like, yeah? Or...
Well, is Alex reacting in any way to what Gilbert's saying?
Alex has not changed expression
at all
throughout this entire talk.
Okay.
Except possibly at the mention of one name, which I'm sure Matt can figure out in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But without knowing in advance who it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
No problem. So Gilbert and Aurora return to their positions, and Cortland says, "Oh, and there is another job, but we'd rather Anasoff know about this one. So please," he gestures to the ghouls. They part the ways and open the door, and Anasoff comes back in, kind of cap in hand still, looking quite placid about it. And Cortland says, "Mr. Anasoff, I'm delighted to tell you that our fine coterie of operatives here, who I believe you have met before, will be taking care of your Anak problem in Camden for you. And also we have another mission for them, which, Mr. Anasoff, perhaps you could help us with. We have a third coterie here in the city who you probably haven't had any interaction with yet. And, they want to carry out a proactive service against the local forces of the Inquisition. And, well, this coterie here will be helping them with that. Isn't that right? He turns, and there is now a man stood on the edge of the elders who wasn't there before. Alex, you are very familiar with this man. Very, very familiar with this man. The rest of you, please imagine what you feel the most nondescript individual to be to your personal characters. That's what this man looks like.
Okay.
To the point where even his sudden appearance seems kind of, oh, you know, it's just a nondescript individual. Yeah. To Alex, interestingly enough, you know what? I don't think I mentioned the possibility of this to our stream manager, so he might be scrambling to look. But Steve, if you have the card available at all for Brazil, please bring it up. But it's fine, no rush. Yeah. The man shrugs and says, well, it's only a little job, really. We're going to do a bit of breaking and entering, but we could do with having the place scoped first by no one who could possibly be identified by the individuals later as having been on the premises. So, yeah. Just a bit of scouting. You're up for that? Right, Alex?
But of course.
And these others?
I suppose so.
Alex beams as if trying to pass on their agreement through the smile.
I follow Alex's lead.
I am invisible, or as close to it as I can be without using my disciplines.
Oh, sorry. I explicitly say I follow Alex's lead.
Oh, that is interesting.
Brazil kind of runs a hand through his long, tousled hair, which, of course, has probably a slightly different style for all of you, and says, well, that'll just be perfect then. I'll be in touch. He walks backwards, and he doesn't disappear, but after maybe just a short while, all of you except Alex just kind of forget he was there.
I just have an impression that, like, I have to do a thing.
Yeah.
No, had a
don't,
conversation.
Forget completely of
had
his
a conversation
existence or anything. He's just not that important.
Oh,
But is he in the room? I'm not sure if he's in the room. I mean, he could have left.
Is that guy still here?
Is
Yeah.
he still here?
Some guy.
Yeah, he's not like a
You know
kind
what?
of Methuselah waving his hand and you forget he exists.
I couldn't describe him to you. I couldn't tell you what he looks like.
Couldn't point him
but,
out
you
of the
know,
crowd. No.
No.
sure.
I love how he's just met a kindred TARDIS.
That'll be me one day.
They should have called the discipline level that. Obfuscate level, whatever it is, 3 or 4. Kindred TARDIS. So, yeah.
During this, if there's an opportunity, I would see if I can make sort of meaningful eye contact with Astrid Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I'm trying to indicate is that maybe I want to talk to her.
Sure. Well, she makes 0 eye contact with you.
Yep.
But at the end, kind of Cortland shrugs and says, well, I think that concludes the formal part of our little gathering, and obviously we don't want to stay here all night. It's not the good old days after all. But we will endure here a short while. If anyone wants to get any business done, then go ahead. And otherwise, thank you. We realize we're putting an awful lot on you. But yes, all of those tasks, in whatever order you perhaps see fit, although it seems Mr. Brazil has his own schedule. Clear?
Yeah.
Crystal.
Wonderful. Everyone visibly kind of, detenses a little bit. It's a word. And yeah. And
How does
essentially
Anasoff look?
start to almost mingle. Anasoff, he's he's like a closed book.
How are the Nosferatu? Are they still here?
I believe Anasoff is the only other Nosferatu here.
I thought
Sebastian.
Sebastian Marley is
Sebastian
not here.
Ah,
I thought it was Grendel. No,
Oh yes, sorry, Grendel is here. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Grendel is here. I mean,
He's-
yeah, he's just standing stock still, occasion like with a constant deep rumble emerging from his chest.
So he looks relaxed.
Yeah, ready to inflict horrific violence at a moment's
Relaxed.
notice. So relax. Yeah,
Grendel relaxed.
absolutely. Yeah.
In my mind, he's just the Bane from that first Batman movie with
Yeah,
Like-
sure. That's probably not a million miles off. No, only no luchador mask, but
yeah, a few differences.
yeah, a couple of small differences. So we've already had one person flag up someone they might want to talk to. But is there anyone I'll go around the group again. Arthur, is there anyone you might want to interact with while you're here?
I feel like if no one else is going to, I should talk to, or someone should at least talk to Anisov. So I would probably go over to him first of all.
Okay. And how about Neill?
I
Or
would
Alex,
also
actually.
like to speak to Anasov, but first, if I can speak to Win very briefly.
Absolutely.
If Win is looking too hostile, we'll not push it. But
No, he's not looking hostile. Mandrill, how about yourself?
I was also Anasoff, so
Anasoff.
I would go in with Arthur.
Absolutely.
If possible.
How about Oscar? I mean,
Uh,
Astrid Thomas, I assume.
Yeah, Astrid Thomas, and to blend in with the other guys.
Okay.
No.
Well, everyone, I know, Alex, you did say Win first, but if everyone's talking to Anasoff, do we just want to all have a conversation with Anasoff first?
sure.
Sure, you wander over. He kind of turns as you approach, and his face takes on, as much as it can, a certain friendly aspect or a certain, welcoming. And he snaps a quick bow at you and says, my friends, you who are to do so much for myself and the compact.
Mr. Anisov, we can only do whatever we are able. We were hoping to talk to you about this Camden Anarch situation.
Yes.
Do you know how long they've been there? How many there are?
They
Are they actually Anarchs?
Oh, they are most definitely Anarchs, yes.
Good.
They have been in London, I would say, a mere matter of weeks before you arrived. And at first they were on the outer reaches, causing a bit of trouble here and there, but then they seem to settle themselves down in Camden. Back before the Inquisition, a common area for their type to congregate and socialize. And yes, from what reports my agents can tell me, there are a fair few of them, perhaps I would estimate between 10 and 15. As is so often the case, they seem to be roused by one of their number who is acting as some kind of leader. I have no doubt that if you find them, you will be able to identify who this one is. Yes, he will be the one who does not stop talking. But they are, even if it were the normal times, they would be endangering the Masquerade.
Where did they come from?
I do not have this information, I'm sorry to say.
Does he look like he's telling the truth? Can I use my insight to see if he's telling the truth?
Yeah, you can, absolutely. Give me that roll. And I'll use his stats for concealing that against you, which probably leaves you in a pretty bad place.
I don't know.
So, yeah, give me a resolve plus insight roll, please.
Okay.
And the difficulty I'm going to set for that is...
You might want to set it high.
Stop taunting the storyteller.
What would it be? Subterfuge, I guess. 5.
I'm rolling 7 die
Oh,
Let's get your hunger.
with hunger 3. And I roll 6 successes.
Good lord. Yeah, as far as you're pretty sure he's telling the truth.
piercing gaze.
And Mandrill does have a piercing gaze.
Your Nosferatu senses
Yeah.
are not tingling, or are tingling, depending on what way they're attuned, I suppose.
They're wired, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a good read on people.
Have they been causing you many problems?
Oh, not me and my operation personally. I am a long way from Camden, but others nearby have mentioned their activities, and, well, as I say, there's only so many people you can chase through the darkened streets of Camden and drink from in public without bringing a certain unpleasant attention down on the residents of this city.
That is rather dangerous, yes.
Was the that nightclub we visited in Camden?
Yes.
Yes.
The Abbey, yes, it was.
The Abbey, yeah. Oh.
So, yes. You said that there were others who were more affected, perhaps other landlords. Are these?
Yes.
I would guess that they would perhaps wish to assist us in our...
If they wished to take a more proactive role in this being quashed, they would be here rather than I.
So I suppose, is there any help that you can offer us?
As I say, it is far from my locus of control.
Okay.
I feel like Oscar has 2 modes, which is one is like, yeah, okay, whatever. The other one is like, well, I'm going to, we're going to kill you now. Like, okay, I don't believe you and I hate you now.
Has there been any indication that they've already drawn unwanted attention?
It is difficult to say without monitoring the Inquisition closely.
Of course.
I do not do this, neither do the others in the compact, because monitoring can very easily turn the other way around in a heartbeat.
I see.
We tend to studiously ignore them unless they are, what is the American term, gunning for us, yes?
Yes, I see. Perfectly understandable. Well,
I am sorry I could not be of more help to you. But rest assured, the completion of this task means the Compact of Landlords will owe you a boon.
well, it's very kind, I suppose. I mean, after all, doing this will protect all of us equally.
Absolutely, and the safety of one is the safety of all.
Agreed.
I have another question, Mr. Anasov. If we have finished on this particular topic, and it is. I had been meaning to ask you for some time, but obviously we do not speak face to face very quickly. I was wondering if we brought some letters to you via pigeon, would you be able to pass them on to other landlords in the city?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Simply mark who it is for and set flight to one of my little friends, and it will find its way to the correct person.
Excellent. I am so glad. I had old friends in the city from before I left, and now that we are more settled, I would like to contact them. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. That will be. Yes. Of course. Oh, I almost forgot. Forgive an old man his fading memories. Speaking of old friends, how is Jack?
He
Jack
seemed
is-
somewhat disturbed when we last saw him. But I believe he was leaving for a time.
I think he was planning on catching up with old friends.
Hmm. Well, I hope that brings him joy.
Very much so. We don't like seeing angry Jack.
He did seem to be trying to find them to resolve his disturbance.
It is most certainly a priority in many an unlife who has encountered Jack to not reach a state where they require a visit from Jack for for acts gone by.
Yes. Shifty eyes. Try
I
not to
start
look at certain directions in the room.
Sweating a little bit.
Well, if you would excuse me, I wish to converse with some of your leaders here.
Thank you for your time.
Of course.
Once more, I have not really had a chance to express it so directly, but be welcome to this city, to the city of London. Welcome back for some of you. He gestures at those of you who made their home in London before the fall, and nods and walks off.
Well, if you would excuse me as well for a moment, I just wish to speak to Win. You please do not be alarmed. You may accompany me if you wish. I simply wish to speak with him before we depart.
Is it about something important, or should we be there?
It is just to let him know about Jack, just in case there was some interest on his part.
I'll let you have that conversation on your own, I think.
Are you sure that's an entirely sensible idea, Alex?
Whatever do you mean, Dr. Norris?
You know what? Never mind. I fully bow to your good sense.
Alex takes this as if it is a genuine compliment. Why, thank you. I will be right back.
As he's once he's far away enough that even Auspex won't hear it, I might say to Arthur, "Never argue with Matt."
So, yeah. So Alex is going to go talk to Win. I believe Oscar is going to go talk to Astrid. Mandrill and Arthur, any kind of targets from you?
If I blew off this right now, would there be enough time to get some food?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'll do
Oh,
that.
definitely. You're at about 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Sure.
No one wants to talk to me, so I don't want to talk to them.
Sure. Arthur?
I can't think of anyone in particular to talk to, which probably means I would gravitate around Cortland.
Sure, that's absolutely fine.
God,
So
poor you.
let's cover those. And Steve, for each of these conversations, while it's just one person interacting with them, we don't need to pull the other cameras off screen because I don't know how long they'll be. But let's bring the card up of each person. Let's start with Win. Let's have Alex talking to Win. So Alex, you walk over to Win. Win is conversing with Aurora Van Brand. As you walk up, but as she sees you arrive, she kind of gives you a curt nod and walks off. Win kind of looks at you and says, "Brown."
I'll give her a polite nod if there's time before she departs.
Yeah.
Win, it is lovely to see you again. I do not wish to use up too much of your precious time. I just wish to speak with you on a personal matter. I just wish to let you know that Jack may have left the city, and he was seeking someone called I had the name in my head before this conversation started.
Sure.
My
It's
delaying.
Basilis. Can I just
Basilis.
ask, because literally this is information I don't know, has Jack been mentioned to win?
Yes.
Oh yeah, of
Only
course.
if-
He's been reported to all the elders. Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
And I think we even spoke to Win very briefly, and he said it wouldn't be a problem from his side.
Yes, correct. Yes, absolutely.
He was seeking someone called Vasilis, and I believe now he is gone. I know there are no problems, but I just wish to keep you informed.
Well, I appreciate that. Was that it?
That was it. Please have a wonderful evening.
He doesn't grunt, but definitely makes a kind of non-committal noise.
I'll happily walk off, and I might start examining the surroundings whilst putting heightened senses on to see if I hear anything important.
Well, as that happens, someone appears at your elbow. Can we have Brazil, please?
Joy of joys.
So how's life with the marks?
As always, things are wonderful. In fact, I believe that very soon they shall be even more wonderful. And how about with you, Brazil, and the non-marks?
I'm not going to lie. This isn't looking good.
Alex will affect a slightly sympathetic look that I can't do.
Look, if this all falls apart, do you want in if I rabbit again? Or are you too intent in looking for your little cult?
But of course, I would love to be kept aware of any means to survive.
Right. Well, I'll be in touch then. I'll be in Down Street in a few days.
It will be wonderful to see you, as always.
He kind of rolls his eyes slightly and shrugs and walks off. And less so for you, certainly, but to everyone else, definitely becomes part of the scenery again. Let's have Pierre talking to Astrid now, please.
Oscar talking to Astrid. Pierre talking to Matt.
Pierre talking to Matt, indeed. Yes. So, how are you going to approach?
Is she talking to anyone?
Astrid is, you know what? She's standing on her own, somewhat lurking, somewhat near where Jazz and Grendel are, but not looking at them or talking to them in any way. She has a glass of blood in one hand and is kind of sipping on it gently, and she has a look of someone who's simmering slightly.
Okay, I approach cautiously. Astrid?
She turns slowly to you and says, the prodigal child.
Yes, quite. I was wondering, my impression, I've learned a few things as I've picked up from the others. I'm an inquisitive mind, and it's very apparent to me that you are, and I sort of lower my tone, but not like very much, that you are at the peak of the triangle.
Enough of your clownish foppery. It's called the triangle. No, it's not. It's called the pyramid. Shit.
It's called the pyramid.
Well, that undercut her point.
But
of course, she says it's called the pyramid.
Yes. Well, I'm learning about these things all the time. So You are at the top, then?
You may consider me the head of the pyramid here in London. Yes.
Okay. So I am assuming that I am some number of rungs below you, but I am not sure where I fit. And I'm not sure who I should be talking to. Is it, I mean, it's important that I be educated in Tremere matters.
She steps in very close to you and leans so that her lips are right next to your ear and says, "Cease your prattle. Currently, Mr. Kane, you may consider yourself beneath the base of the pyramid. You are not one of us. You have not been initiated as such, as you quite rightly stated. But let me make one thing clear. I see through you, Mr. Kane. I see through you in the way I see through every other member of our esteemed clan. Because for all this, as I called it, clownish foppery and buffoonery and ahhing and your sweet little bookstore owner facade, you are the same as every other member of Clan Tremere, Mr. Kane. You seek one thing: knowledge. And you seek it because it is the key to power. That is why you have become one of us. And that is why I treat you with caution, as I would treat any other weapon that had been embraced purely for practical purposes. Perhaps one day you will prove yourself, and I would consider you worthy of being part of the very lowest foundation of the pyramid I represent. But until then, you just do your best with your little coterie mates, and we shall see."
Noted.
That was quiet enough that I'm not going to give you any willpower damage.
Sure.
No. I think I can give you a certain amount. Do you want to just remove one willpower ultimately? Take one superficial willpower damage. No one was witness to that, so it didn't affect your standing among everyone. But I think that unless you want to argue that you didn't feel put in your place by that, it would certainly kind of maybe damage Oscar's confidence in social matters with Astrid.
Oh, definitely. It also, I don't know. Yeah, it made me feel many things, especially regarding this. This geometric thing, this square, triangle, whatever that thing. But we'll see how that
Sure
continues.
Absolutely. So I believe the only other one we had left was Arthur talking to Cortland. So yeah, let's have a little interaction there.
All right. You're getting some exposure as the mouthpiece of the elders, I see.
Well, we all do what we're best at. Arthur, speaking of which, how are your little connections picking up?
They're picking up very well. I, in fact, just the other day, made a little arrangement with someone. Should see a steady income.
All right, we'll start bringing in revenue, but more importantly, start bringing in something to drink. As he says this, you see his fangs kind of showing a rather embarrassing show of hunger from someone like Cortland. And he says, "It's becoming hard to source the correct..." Well, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Do I know of any upcoming gatherings?
Let's say yeah. Yeah, sure.
Now that you mention it, Cortland, at the risk of crossing over feeding groups, there is an event in a few days' time. if you don't mind being a +1. Very exclusive.
I think I would look forward to that very much. We'll bring Wentworth as well.
All right, but make sure he behaves.
He's there for safety. He won't do anything he's not meant to do. And look, get in touch with any contacts you still have from Paris and Berlin if they're still around. We need to get the railroad working, if you follow my sense.
I do.
Right.
I'll see what I can do.
Well then, take care with those annex, yes?
I'll try my best.
Don't get all gung-ho.
Oh, I'm always the level-headed voice of reason, Cortland. You know this.
Yes, it's not you I'm worried about. He kind of glances over at the rest of your party with perhaps his eyes lingering a little on Mandrill.
I maintain a face of
sure.
Polite
Mandrill has left,
impassiveness.
you're right. Then his eyes are lingering a little bit on Oscar, I don't know.
The slime patch that Mandrill left behind.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other interacting at the party that we wish to do? Nope. Okay, then. Well, then. Mandrill has already left. And Alex and Oscar and Arthur presumably leaving together?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a couple of things we want to do. Mandrill, you left early enough. Let's say you can hunt and then rejoin the others back at Down Street, and that's absolutely fine.
I told them I was going, so they're not like, expecting to see me anywhere.
What sort of technique of hunting are you doing? I think you can now roll your Sandman rolls, but you'll have to do it in Mayfair because that's where your thing is.
Okay. So we in the past we went down to a hotel in Soho. Is that fine?
you can absolutely hunt in Soho. It's nearby, and absolutely. In that case, make your standard Sandman roll for Soho, please.
And I don't add my hood to that.
No, that's from older editions. The herd is. Am I right in saying that, Alex? No?
2 successes.
2 successes. Yes, and let me find. I think I did
3 hunger die and 1 other die, so 4 die total.
Okay. Well, the difficulty of Soho is 3.
I can't re-roll the.
You can't re-roll more.
No, one of my successes is on my regular die.
Okay. In that case, let's say you struck out. You just, you went through Soho and tried to find. Basically, you found nowhere to break in. Nowhere easy to break in that wasn't, didn't have people walking past or something like that. So you struck out. As the other 3 leave the amphitheater, presumably to start heading back to Down Street, but I'm willing to take anything else.
Yes.
Can all 3 of you give me a roll, please? And can that roll be for wits and awareness? And I'm going to set the difficulty for this at 5. And
rolling 4 dice is possible.
Does instincts count?
You know what? Yeah.
Got 3 successes after rolling 4 dice.
8 successes, including a critical.
You said it's difficulty 5, right?
I did.
So I currently only have 4 and a critical fail.
Do you mean a bestial failure?
Yes. I'm going to spend a willpower to.
Are you sure? Because you just said a critical, and a bestial failure is not a critical.
Sorry, no, bestial failure.
Okay, so you rolled a 1 on a hunger die.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I'm going to re-roll my black ones in the hopes of getting some criticals and not failing.
Sure.
Nope.
Nope.
That's a bestial failure.
Bestial failure. So Alex definitely did it with a critical. I'm really not sure how critical works in this particular situation, but we'll do what we can. But a bestial failure, let's handle that first.
He's not distracted by John's bestial failure.
Yeah. Okay. Let's.
believe in you, Arthur.
Let's do this. So I'm going to propose that it's paranoia, and you just have a kind of sense of paranoia for the rest of the evening. Let's say, because well, basically, I will describe what happens right now. Okay, and then we can talk about whether you want to take that one. So Alex kind of comes to a stop and looks upwards. And as Alex does, you see a huge owl, a kind of silky, milk white owl, swooping down from the top of, because the entrance is like in a courtyard, and it's swooping down from the top of one roof and kind of coming down just over your heads and then up and off to the point where you're lightly dusted, because owls have kind of like Justin, I bet, will know the name of it, but they've got a kind of dusty wings and feathers, right? That leaves a a thing. He knows. He's an expert on owls. And soars silently over you and up over another roof. And Alex, I'd say that your critical means you see it before it swoops. But all it's doing is swooping and then swooping off. So I can't think of anything particularly to give you about that critical. But if you could think of anything, that's fine.
All I can think of is that I have a suspicion of what and who that owl is.
Okay.
Does it bear a resemblance to what and who I think it is in some way that I can detect?
I have no idea who you might mean.
I think it's Win.
Okay, you just left Win in the amphitheater.
Okay, fine.
So I guess if somehow he could have made his way up to the roof in the time
he
you
has
left.
celerity.
Sure. The thing is,
either way,
I feel bad giving you false information as a critical because it ain't Win.
Then the fact that it's not Win, I'm quite happy to be my critical success, rather.
Cool. Arthur, this scares the shit out of you, city boy. So Neill will know more than I do. How long should compulsions last for a bestial failure, Neill?
It lasts in this case, it lasts for an hour once he reaches safety.
Right.
So potentially.
Yeah, I didn't mean paranoid as in he's running, just like twitchy, like something's watching him.
A scene or a session is normally the vague bit, depending on how long's left.
Let's make it easy. The rest of the session, you've got to feel like something's watching you from, a high up or shadowy place for the rest of the session. That seems fair, right?
Right.
Yeah. Does that sound right? Unless you can think of a better owl-related compulsion.
I can think of...
He's wide-eyed.
His head turns all the way around.
Sticks his beak into everything.
Let's run with that. And maybe Arthur lets out some kind of hiss or yelp.
Oh, Arthur, you all right?
No. What was that?
Oscar, you did not notice it.
Was that? Yeah.
That was a meeting.
What?
Look, it didn't go that badly, Arthur. It was
shut
fun.
up, Oscar. You no.
Shut up. I will put an arm or a hand gently on Arthur's shoulder and say,
"Yeah,
I believe Arthur is referring to the owl. It is not to worry, Arthur. Let us return back, and I am sure that the owl will not be able to enter."
You're not supposed to get owls in London. You get pigeons and you get green things. You don't get owls.
Oh no! Of course, I am sure it was not actually an owl.
That's.
This is Alex.
Don't worry, I'm sure it was not really an owl. Your senses were lying to you. Don't worry.
Okay, how about we just go home, and I can lie down.
Once we are home, I believe that we should pen a couple of letters. Oscar, your penmanship has been superb so far. Would you be so kind to assist me with these?
Yes, so long as you explain to me
Of course. But
when is an owl not an owl.
in
When it's a writing
safer
desk?
in safer environments, yes, I'll be glad to, Oscar.
Okay.
Tell you what, Neill, do you want? Here you go. I can give you something that might be more useful with that critical than
Sure.
it's not win, because I think that was that's a conclusion that Alex can reasonably reach themselves.
Well, I mean, Neill didn't, but sure, you believe so.
Sure, yeah, but obviously Alex is in the situation and knows how long it was since they saw Win and stuff. Alex is pretty damn sure that was an owl, an actual owl.
Well, that's much worse.
When is an owl not an owl?
I'm not going to retcon anything I said.
No.
I'll retcon it when we get back in the.
Just walking.
You're trying to make
that
wasn't better, right?
We can say that the critical kicks in then as
Exactly,
you say, "Oh, it probably wasn't an owl," and you go,
I'll discuss it when we're back at the Haven. It's fine.
Maybe I'm too paranoid. Alex is like.
So.
Oh my.
Yeah, everyone heads back to Down Street. Mandrill, you probably get there first. Are you going to top yourself up from the refrigerator?
It went so badly last time I didn't do it. I'm not going to do it again.
Okay. So you're on hunger 3 at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to immediately get to work on finishing off the stuff I was doing with the security stuff.
Pardon me.
As I see you move away to do that, I'll just say quickly before you leave, would you like to review the letters before we send them, Mandrill, or are you content for us to do it in your absence?
If I've got home first, then you probably find me in the computer room. But what's the content, Alex? What are you thinking of putting in them? Just a hello?
Oh, we are just introducing ourselves to Rowena and Rose as Oscar Anasov was unwilling to help the others to meet them, but perhaps just simply by going through his normal channels, we may be able to greet them and arrange some kind of meeting or conversation.
Sure. No, I'll sign the letters certainly, but I'm
Excellent.
sure that you'll be able to put it perfectly.
Excellent. Well, good luck with your ministrations.
Yeah. Mine was like going to open up a little desk full of like writing implements that they use for making blueprints. From now on, it's going to be like this, like beautiful books and beautiful pens and things like that. Like, they never asked me to write the letters.
So before we do the other stuff, it seems like a decent roll we can make. So Mandrill is going to set up the laptop, finish setting up the laptop, and set up like the security cameras and stuff like that around, which you've already done some work on. So let's just go ahead and make a roll on it, I reckon. And if you get this roll, that'll be enough. If not, then I'll drop it down by 1 and we'll roll next time you try. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, so can you give me then a intelligence plus technology roll, please?
So I've got 3 in each of those, so that's 6 die.
And
3 hunger die.
Let's say, because Down Street's a big place and you have to pop a load of wiring through the wall and stuff like that. So let's just say it's difficulty 4, and it'll come down next time you do it, if you don't do it now. And any kind of, if you get like a bestial failure or something, we might keep it at 4 next time or whatever.
I was going to get bestial failure, but I willpower re-rolled it, and I got 4 successes.
There we go. I'd say if you match it, let's say it takes you the rest of the night.
That's cool.
But you go around Down Street, you get a drill out, you fasten stuff into the wall, you run lines kind of just under the wall in various places. It's all linked back to the laptop. And next week, in point of fact, folks, if anyone's interested, we'll have a little map of Down Street and we can look at where all this is and where the control hub of Down Street is and all the rest of it. But for now, yeah, it's all wired up and it's all working and the laptop is fully functioning. It's good. Are you going to put... are you going to do anything like assign a ghoul to be here look at the cameras and stuff like that at all times, or just a suggestion?
Yeah, I have some ideas about that, but basically, yes. But I don't want to give them any kind of. I want there to be like a profile that the ghouls can use that has no functionality apart from
Sure.
doing things that I specify it to, like looking at cameras.
Sure, sounds good. In that case, then, so the coterie in general bought a number of points for their haven before we started, and they've slowly been actually getting them because obviously when they arrived down street it was just an empty former tube station. And one of the things they bought was 1 level in security, which is now in place. So you now have security 1. And what that means functionally, and I'll be relying on you guys to remember this primarily, is that you have 4 automatic dice when resisting haven breaches, or alternately it's a +4 difficulty to haven breaches, depending on how we're figuring the roll. And you also get 4 dice added if you have to make a roll to notice something amiss in the haven.
That's really useful. We've had loads of people entering our haven without
any warning, right? Yeah. So now that will start to perhaps recede. So yeah, that's
Cool.
that. And don't forget, also, of course, you have Jack's thumb drive now.
I have
now
Jack's
you can use the laptop to access it, but evidently not tonight because this takes manual the rest of the night. So.
Oh.
With that in mind, let's talk about these letters. So Alex and Oscar and maybe Arthur are involved in this.
Yeah, I think so.
So you're writing, is the idea that you're writing letters to Rowena and Rosa Barwi, kind of introducing yourselves and saying, may we talk to you? Are you proposing to do it on like, are you inviting them to Downstreet? Are you proposing a middle ground location, a neutral location? And if so, where is that?
I was actually going to suggest that they, as the, in fact, I'll roleplay this as the discussion might be interesting. I would suggest that we let them choose a location, as they know the safer areas of London amongst the Second Inquisition and so forth. It puts us at a slight disadvantage, but given that they do not know us and have no reason to meet with us, I feel that the more we can do to put them at ease, the better.
Is there any chance that the reason that they didn't show up is maybe Anisov was underselling it and actually they wish us great harm?
You raise an excellent point, Oscar. I believe our only hope is that, as they were, I am assuming, officers of the Camarilla and of London before recent events, that their allegiances have remained. But you're right, perhaps we should suggest some locations at first, but give them the opportunity to resuggest.
I should point out, by the way, sorry, that what you said that Anisov undersold it. I don't believe you discussed it with Anisov, because I believe Cortland made it quite clear that it was he literally asked Anisov to leave the room before he gave you the job.
And he did say that when he had spoken to Anisov, he refused to put them to do anything.
Basically give information on other landlords.
Yeah. So all we've got to go off is Cortland and co saying these used to be important and we need to keep them on side or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I just believed that.
Go ahead.
I was just saying I believed that because Anisov was telling us that he was like him and Henry were the two who showed up. Anisov was sort of implying that he was the only one who gave a damn about us or respected the thing. But that was what Oscar took anyway from Anisov.
As with everything said by a Nosferatu, I think multiple interpretations are possible.
Indeed.
And
what were you saying?
we're handing these letters over to Anisov to deliver.
Yes.
So we don't want to put anything in them that we don't want Anisov to know.
Indeed.
So
Very
how are we
astute.
going to answer the question of why are we contacting these people in particular? Unless they're old friends of yours.
Exactly.
Ah.
And of
Very
course,
good.
we know some information about them from, or we will soon know information about them from the USB sticks that we will be able to litter in this.
Clever.
So it sounds like you might want to read Jack's info before you write these letters, then, and that's going to take you over to the next night.
Yeah,
so
that's
is there anything? Sorry.
I was just to say, but I was mainly using this time for we can talk about suggested approaches, and I'm sure there'll be some bits we can write beforehand. But yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. So is there anything you those three of you have probably got a few hours left for the rest of the evening? So Arthur, Alex, and Oscar, is there anything you want to do with the rest of this evening?
I want to look at the address book that I took from my thing and see if I can think of any contacts that I have in academia, or that I had in academia, that might have access to blood bags. I'm looking to try and secure a more stable blood supply.
Okay. What I would say is that while that is admirable, are you intending to spend the XP points? Because that sounds like a very valuable thing that would be a background or an advantage. And I don't think you have something like that. If you do, it's not on my list of things to make sure are in place.
Okay. Yeah, I need to work that out. Okay, I don't know. I'll fruitlessly think about it for a while.
Sure,
and then maybe
yeah.
I'll be fruitful later.
But maybe that would be a herd, I think. If there are people who you can get a steady supply of traded plasma from, that would count as herd, I think. So what you might want to do is look at your XP and see if you can buy a point of herd, and then we can work out that it's that. That would seem
that is your feeding strategy, isn't it? Isn't that
Bagger.
Yeah. Bagger. For some reason, I thought you were like the trading one, but like.
I'm a bagger with the emphasis of trying to obtain
of trading stuff for it. Yeah.
Unless Oscar's just literally trying to find people who know the scene, so he can start using his predator type.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Well, you know what is your what's the bagger role? What's that predator type role?
Yes, I should have some hand. I am not 100% sure. Intelligence plus streetwise.
Okay. Well, I think that's reasonable. And you know what? And correct me if I'm wrong here. I think what could be done here is, this sounds weird. I think Oscar can roll for his bagging predator type from anywhere, but then have to go to the place to get it. Does that make sense? Because he doesn't need to go to Soho, because it would be people in Soho, right? Because that's where he's from. So he can make a roll on Soho, but then he'd have to travel to Soho to actually get the stuff later. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or you could interpret the streetwise as being like, I need to scan the place to like identify marks and stuff. But
yeah.
It's up to you.
I think it'd be used in multiple ways, but I think that's fine.
It also depends how much he wants to give away over the phone.
Yeah,
I suppose he might have the contacts on the phone and use code words and.
Yeah.
Should we see if Oscar gets any successes before we wonder about what they mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So give me an intelligence plus streetwise roll then, if that's the bagger thing. And if you're looking at your Soho contacts, we're looking at 3 difficulty.
Okay.
You'll definitely have time this evening to go back and actually get them as well if they're.
So I'm rolling 5 dice. And I got 3 successes.
Okay, that's what you need. So I guess that's the rest of your evening. Let's think about this a bit. Let's think about how you got this. So essentially, you're someone who's got both esoteric and dodgy contacts.
Yes,
and usually they are both, right? And essentially, you can find people who will trade oddities and have routes to trade unusual things for other unusual things. What you've done is found one of them, someone who can get things off the back of a truck from hospitals and doctors' offices, but also other weird places, maybe, like libraries and galleries and so forth. And you've basically said, look, I've got some stuff you want still. Now I want some blood bags. That's what I want. with whatever excuse you want. You know,
Sure.
Um,
I've got a friend who really needs them.
yeah, sure. And you have managed to secure. They're like, yeah, all right, I can get you. Yeah, I can get you some blood bags, and they want you to meet them in Soho in a couple of hours, and they'll make a trade. And what will they be making a trade for? Something at your shop, presumably.
Yes. I need to.
Well,
I
let's
don't
think
know.
what they
I have all sorts of
they might want.
oddities. I have books. I have little trinkets. I have things that maybe look like they're valuable.
Yeah. And I think this person who gets weird stuff and trades it to you probably their tastes are a little esoteric as well, right? So why don't you? Yeah, there we go. A good suggestion in the private chat. I need it for a satanic ritual. But why don't we flip that? The person you are trading to genuinely is someone who you are aware consistently tries to summon demons.
Okay, I have the dagger for you.
Unsuccessfully.
I have
Until
just
tonight.
Yeah.
a beautiful ritual, like
Yeah, they've showed
inlaid-
interest in this ritual dagger. It's not very old, but clearly it's from some American Church
might
of
even be a
Satan nonsense or something. And they are very interested in this. You make your way to Soho, round to like the little corner, like dingy corner apartment where they've traded stuff for you before, you manage. Let's say this takes place before the letter writing, maybe even on the way back.
okay,
and you trade to them for, and it basically, even though it's a bagger, it'll be like the equivalent of one victim's worth, right? Which means slaking 2 hunger safely, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit odd there, isn't it? Because it's like you could. Because when you hunt, you can drain them dry when you hunt if you want, but it's odd but we have to kind of pick an amount of blood bags so that it's like, because otherwise you're like, well, I'll take all of them.
yeah. Can I also have specified that the method of trade is going to be like a drop system, because I don't want to use Blush of Life in order to have this brief interaction. Is my thought.
I believe everyone already engaged the Blush of Life for this evening.
Okay.
They might not have, but either way, yeah, it's fine. Alex, you were going to raise something there.
I was just going to say, yeah, I've had the same conclusions that I just said, where you can just slate 2 with a basic bagging roll, because otherwise we need some.
Otherwise it's OP, yeah.
Yeah.
So
especially as you could get them and bring them back for everyone in your coterie.
You know what? Especially that. Although I think I have nothing wrong with him bringing them back.
Yeah, can I?
It's blood. It's blood. I think he can.
Can I slake one and bring one back?
Yeah, I mean, I find there's no technical reason why you can't do that. But go on, Alex.
These ones would have to be. Whereas I think the ones we have so far are kind of quasi special. These ones would have to be Iron Gullet only. So, for instance, I couldn't use them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still.
Is Iron Gullet
back to later?
Is Iron Gullet not at all, or you have to roll to see if you throw up?
Iron Gullet or not at all.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Unless someone else has an Iron Gullet in the group.
Yeah,
you can still bring them back from himself for now.
Yeah, and then not drink from the team supply.
Oh, I mean, is that
Well,
because blood bag is just listed on the normal thing, and the only notes it has is slakes no hunger for vampires above blood potency 2 and no residence or dyscrasia.
this may raise a question of how this Satan guy got a hold of the blood bags. So I believe medical blood bags do have to be treated, slightly separated, and they do like a vibration thing to stop it from coagulating.
Yeah.
So if it's literally just he's gone up to a guy and gone, give me some of your blood, then it probably won't last very long, which is probably the argument for why you then can't take it home. Whereas because ours is medical grade, it's made to be preserved.
And refrigerated.
Yes.
It's actually the opposite. So as a vampire, you can't feed off fractionated blood without Iron Gullet. So the reason any vampire can feed off someone recently dead or a recent blood bag, but to feed as a bagger, you automatically gain Iron Gullet as part of the predator type, and you need Iron Gullet to feed off fractionated blood.
Yeah, but we made a special case, didn't we, when we got the stuff from that it's very ridiculously high quality, like experimental technique plasma sort of stuff.
Magic blood, we got it.
It's MacGuffin.
It's magic blood.
It's MacGuffin.
It's fine.
Okay.
I just didn't want you to all die from lack of hunting.
Might still happen.
So that makes sense. So this is fractionated. This is fractionated blood, right? So no one else can drink it in your coterie, or they'd just fucking throw it up again. So.
Okay, but like an optimistic puppy, I still bring home.
No, yeah, sure.
That bit of blood, not knowing that other people can't do what I just did.
Sure. Well, then
That's
slate
true.
one hunger, and you can come back, and you can, offer it to someone. Who are you going to offer it to, or are you just going to put it in the fridge?
I think Mandrill. I think I'd offer it to Mandrill, because she seems hungry and also kind of sad. So,
I mean, oh my god, it's true. That's my character.
So I think that's fine. Like, and I think I'd say hunger is the kind of thing you can pretty much. If you spend time with other vampires, you probably know what their hunger level is at all times, essentially, because it's obvious. Let's roleplay this because this actually sounds kind of fun. Neill's put some in private chat, and I will get to that. But let's. Yeah. So Oscar walking up to Mandrill, who's probably like drilling some holes in the wall or something.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Mandrill, how's it? Hey, Mandrill, how's it going?
Hey, Oscar, I can hear you. This draw's battery operated. It's not that big.
I just thought I should put my hand over my mouth to make it a bit louder.
No, that's fair enough. Have you had a nice evening? A successful party?
Should I tell you something?
Yeah, no, please. I always love hearing things.
Look what I found, and I pull out this like mangy bag.
Okay, is this like a blood bag from one of our first days out that you haven't had in your pocket the whole time?
This is labelled completely differently.
Okay,
it's visibly completely different. In my head, it's like. And it's not like this. It is a medical blood bag, albeit one labeled differently. But in my head, Oscar has just pulled out, like when you win a goldfish from a fair.
Yes.
It's just like a plastic bag full of blood,
I was thinking he's got those like the zipper sandwich bags.
Ziploc
If you
bag
tie
of
it
blood.
down, it won't leak.
It's one step away from having a curly straw put into the top. But we won't go.
That's classy.
That's full fish milk. We're not going there. So
if it's really obviously not one of my bags,
it's very obviously not one of those bags. Yeah. And I would say, just for the avoidance of embarrassment, if any one of the other three of you opened this and smelled it, you would immediately know it's not for consumption.
Well, I might do that anyway because you never know.
Sure.
And I maybe I even have to take a taste of it or something to do that, or if I can easily do it, then. But I might just kind of.
I just thought you might want it,
Okay.
If you do taste any of it, you will immediately.
Yeah.
Like when a cat's eaten something that tastes bad.
Yeah. Or like something smells rotten, etc. That kind of thing. Yeah. Like off milk, that kind of thing. But I kind of. Okay, Oscar, I really appreciate it, but can you please get that away from me? It's actually disgusting. Sorry, this isn't like.
Was there something?
I don't know.
And I like taste it, and I'm like, it's
I'm
fine.
Sorry, I didn't know that you were this way. My God, what is it like to live like you? I don't know what it is about the blood that we have. I haven't looked into all of your Tremere methods of making it safe for consumption, but for some reason, that's fine. But most vampires can't normally drink bad blood. Oh. I tried once, but then I chose rats instead.
Maybe I'll have to try rats one of these days.
I mean, they make better friends than food, but
I mean, if you do, don't rely on Mandrill to teach you how to catch them.
Shut up! You're not here, Storyteller.
Yeah, this is a bonding moment.
So there we go. I take it that Oscar is going to consume that second bag then.
I'm on one hunger, so I can't.
Oh, okay. Well, you can't slake it. Well, you can put it in the
chuck
fridge.
It in a wall.
Yeah.
You can put it in the fridge for later. I'd say it has to be consumed within the next couple of nights, unlike the other ones. But I'd say you can consume it tomorrow night, perhaps, if you fail a rouse check or whatever.
Do you still have damage to heal?
I have loads of damage that I would really like to get rid of.
You do, don't you? But I think as we looked up, that involves 3 rouse checks.
And day sleep.
And a day of sleep. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
maybe
I tell
it's later.
well, then if you want to, hey, why don't you make those rouse checks now?
Okay.
Stop ticking them off.
And we'll see where you get to, because you can only go up to 4 right now, yeah, and then you'll go,
Yep.
yeah. So it's not.
So roll 1 is not success, so I get more hungry. So I'm now on hunger 2.
Drink your blood bag.
I drink my blood bag. I'm now back down to 1.
Mm-hmm.
I got 1 success, so no extra hunger,
Still at 1 there.
and I got another success, so I'm still
Okay.
at 1.
So that's great. So you're at 1, and overnight or overday rather, your next point of aggravated damage will remove itself.
Cool.
How many have you got now?
I've only got
that?
2. I'm only
Hey!
badly injured.
Good stuff. Okay.
The next night we go, oh, you're looking much better, Oscar. Like, you look noticeably less disfigured by all those bullet holes.
Yes. So, so the one thing that Neill mentioned in our private chat is that while Oscar and Alex are working on those letters, should we have a look at to see if he notices the ring? They notice the ring, rather. You know what? I'm going to say no for now, because I don't want to roll multiple times for one task. And when you fully write them, when you finish writing them to go off, that feels like it might be a more dramatic moment to make that roll.
Sure.
So we'll do that, which is presumably happening the next night.
And we have already rolled for it this day for you.
I can't remember if it was
Yes.
it was last session, but I can't remember if it was the same night.
Oh, it was right at the
it's
end
the
of
same
that
night.
5. It's fine either way.
It's fine. Yeah, it'll work. So sorry, we're doing lots of little tasks here. Arthur, is there anything you want to do with the rest of this evening?
I'm wondering what is the best way to get into contact with any contacts I have on the continent. Yeah.
You probably have their contact details, or at least some contact details on you.
What I was thinking is I could write them a letter and then have a ghoul post them, but then it's like, how do they get contact back to me?
You set up a PO box.
Yeah, that works.
So it sounds like you need to send out a ghoul to set up a PO box first.
Yes.
You can do that. What's your resources?
Like 3 or something.
Yeah, you can get a PO box. They're not that expensive. That's fine. So do you want to do that with one of the elders' ghouls?
Yes.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. They will go and set up a PO box for you. So, with that in mind, let's sleep through another day, through another sunrise and sunset. So first things first, can everyone give me their rouse check, please, for waking up another night?
Oh, another one.
I fail.
I fail.
Succeed.
Okay.
A rare success.
Excellent.
Well done.
Let's have a quick hunger check going clockwise from Alex round, please.
2 hunger.
2 hunger.
3 hunger.
2 hunger.
Okay, not too bad as a group then. Not too bad. So this next evening, I think we can safely say that the first thing that happens is that perhaps we want to look at this flash drive, and perhaps we want to do it as a group, because that's got to happen before the letter, right? Has anyone got a problem with that? Or are we cool with doing that?
I am so
fine with me.
keen.
Excellent.
Codes.
So I'm imagining that Mandrel's at the laptop and is commandeering it, being that she's
I might
set it up.
Probably would say something as I'm doing it like, I'm going to log into my admin account now. It's the only one that I've given permission to read or write any files. Keep those ghouls from doing anything they don't want to do.
This,
Is
sorry, carry on.
Is it connected to...
It is not connected to the internet. It's connected to the cameras.
Downstreet does not have a Virgin Media connection.
Good. Not hashtag not sponsored.
Not that I would tell anyone else about.
Which is probably sounds like a really weird sentence to anyone who's watching this who isn't British.
Virgin Media connection is what we call broadband in the UK.
Yeah, more or less. So you put the thumb drive in, and it's as before. There are a number of files, each with names on them, and there's also a video. I would go through the list of the files, but I'm guessing the first thing you're going to do is look at that video.
I also have a list of the files, but yes.
Hey, there we go.
I think the video is the most juicy.
Okay.
Sure.
So the video comes up. It is Jack has clearly shot this on a mobile phone, and he is sat on what looks like the top of one of those industrial buildings on the industrial estate in Lambeth when you first encountered him. and he's kind of sat there in his usual Killing Joke shirt, leather jacket, hair, like long hair or like mohawked hair flopped over his face, and you get a full view of the vagaries of his distorted image as he kind of leans back, having kind of settled the camera against something, and says, "All right, so you wanted my help. I said I'd give you some help. Staying safe in London, negotiating all the little politics. Well, here's Jack's advice, kids. Get out while you can. But I know you're not going to take that, so let's move down a rung on the Jack's advice ladder. First things first. I said I'd help with that haven of yours, with Down Street. You know what the problem with it is? Everyone knows where it is. And everyone just walks through that front door. Why? You need to lock it down, and you need to lock it down fast, and you need to be real careful about who you're telling about it and whether they get access to it. And that includes your little elders of your little mission. Because right now, everyone knows where you are. Everyone has access to you. And here's the thing. You think the Inquisition is the problem, but they're not the real problem. We're the real problem. All of us. And the moment they decide you're not useful, those ghouls, who with those big guns, will turn them on you. So you need to get rid of those ghouls. You need to lock that place down. And you need to stop letting people in through the front door. All right. That'll do. Maybe we'll never see each other again. That'll probably be a relief for you.
Oh. I look around to see if there were any of the ghouls that
No.
were not ours.
Just loads of guys with echoes going. Yeah, I probably should have seen that already. God damn it. You know, he's completely right. The first thing we need to do is get a new entrance sorted out, one that only we know about. And the ways that we bring people in, we've got to really route them around. We've got a tunnel network down here that we keep making use of. We can take them all which ways, left, right, and centre, and only someone who's used to being underground will really know where they are. Keep them coming in that way. Close off the street entrance. No one comes in through it. We just shut it. We just board it up. Only coming in through the sewers. That's a lot safer.
I believe we should also investigate the possibility of, and we may require some of the elders to do this, of course, suggesting that if the Inquisition is active in the city, that it is possible that someone might be forced into doing something they may not wish to do. And so having the ghouls check everyone before they enter, even others of the mission, might be sensible. Obviously, we could not ask the elders to have to ask permission before entering our haven, but at least we could make sure that we do not become the same gathering ground we were on the first few nights of our presence.
If we make it really difficult, unpleasant, uncomfortable to enter the haven, the elders won't want to visit. Maybe we can allow for there to be certain ways in for guests who we wouldn't want to put through that, sires, for example, but only maybe sires. Maybe Jazz can still go in through the back door.
Are you sure this isn't all just a part of your anti-establishment thing, Mandrel?
Jack said it. Look, I made,
and he's definitely established.
Jack said it, but I'll make alliances for those of us who we need to keep on our side. But he's right. People traipse in and out of this place. We should have control over who comes and goes. But if we want to have an entrance that people who we don't want to have to go through that, then I'm willing to make compromises on security on that. But I think it's a sensible idea. But I'm not in charge,
Well,
But it's an idea.
we all have a say.
We do.
I don't know. I sort of feel similarly. I know I'm a bit impressionable, but Jack has made an impression on me. Yeah, it seems like nearly every other time we return here, there's a new person who's come a knocking.
Yeah, it is odd.
Almost like all our details are being leaked.
It's almost like the storyteller is criticizing his own use of the storytelling mechanism.
Should we look at some of these files?
Yes, I'm so keen.
Perhaps we should look at the ones on Rowena and Rosa Bowie first, so that we might craft these letters more carefully.
Absolutely.
I like what you're saying, Alex. Pick them at random.
So, well, that's what Alex did the first time round. As I said before, if you want to get all the information that Jack has down on these people, you're going to have to make like a protracted roll to basically interpret his shorthand and look that up. But for the purposes of just scanning them tonight, let's talk about, unless there's anyone else you particularly want to look at. Shall I give you the list again? Or you know what, Arthur, you've got the list. Why don't you give it?
Right. I do have it with terrible handwriting and some questionable spelling, so feel free to correct me.
Sure.
I have Adisa.
Spelt wrong.
Spelt wrong, probably. Daniel.
Daniel, yeah.
Daniel. Henry Myers.
Mears.
Johnny Gallinime.
Johnny Gallia.
That's it. Najma.
Oh.
Oscar Anisov. Rowena. Rose Abawi. Zed.
Let's just call him Z. Let's all agree to call him Z. It sounds a
Oh,
lot better
please,
than
no.
Z.
All right.
Can't do it.
I think Arthur's still going to call him Zed. And the Sabat Pack.
Zed is a character from Police Academy. It's uncomfortable to make the association. Not because of anything wrong, just it makes me think of Police Academy. Okay, Zed. We'll call him Zed. It's fine.
Who is after Oscar? Who is after Oscar but before Z?
What? Sorry?
Rowena and Rosa Bowie.
Yes.
Rose.
And the Sabat Pack were afterwards.
Yeah, there's information on the Sabat Pack as well. It's all former Sabat Pack. So I believe you said you were going to look at Rowena and Rose Bowie.
Yep.
Rowena, the highlight information from Rowena is that Jack does also lists that she is a former sheriff of Queen Anne. He lists that she seems to make her territory in Regent's Park and that she is almost certainly Gangrel. If anyone's writing, by the way, we can hear you hugely.
Ah, that is me. Tap, tap, tapping away.
Tap, tap, tapping.
Was it a former? You say a former sheriff or
a former sheriff? Yeah.
Okay.
Sheriff being a function within the Camarilla of basically keeping the peace.
Being a sheriff.
Yeah. For any old school vampire people watching, very old school like me, it's actually like sheriffs used to also enforce the traditions, but that I believe from Revised onwards is more the job of the Scourge. It's punishing people who transgress the traditions.
Do you want any investigation rolls?
Not unless you are sitting down for the rest of the night and trying to interpret his stuff. No, because it will take a long time to do that. It's literally just scanned notes.
Sure.
Like it will take a long time. But each individual person is a night's work, which you are free to do, but perhaps not tonight. Now that you're all interacting together. Rosa Bowie, on the other hand, he also mentions that she's the child of Regina Blake. He mentions that she's therefore Toreador, that she makes a territory in Limehouse, and she seems to be associated with a company called Ash Shipping.
That's sinister.
Go ahead.
Just to check, is that Ash ASH or ASHE? And I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but just to clarify.
ASH. Yeah.
Like what we turn to in the
Yes.
sunlight.
Yes, that's right.
Maybe. I don't know, actually. That's my stereotype.
I mean, Oscar might believe that.
Yeah, I definitely do.
I mean, you will eventually. So that's not a threat. Yeah,
God.
are you doing anything with these other files? As I say, to fully interpret them and kind of scour them for every last detail Jack could find that might be handy will take a complete night per individual. But are there any of the others you're looking through, kind of looking through location? Like, I'll give you that kind of information on all of them if you want. I just don't want to sit here and go through them one by one.
If there's even the group is like wondering about who to go next, I'm going to click on Henry Mears because I want to laugh.
Sure.
Yes,
Well,
my only one.
Henry Mears is unsurprisingly Ventru, makes his home in Chelsea, and is associated with a company called Mears Estates.
Oh, we could have worked all that out ourselves. That's what I say to the group. not complaints.
Can we see anyone who is in the area that we've been told to investigate?
In Camden?
Yes.
What a great idea, Oscar. Johnny Gallagher is listed as being in Camden. And also, a summary examination says that he has been seen in association with a number of other individuals who Jack suspects to be Annex, and that, in his own words, he will sell his teeth if Gallagher is not Brujar.
Oh no. But
He also says they've arrived recently, which corroborates with that.
These aren't all landlords, are they? They're just people of
No,
interest.
they're not all landlords. Gallagher would, for example, definitely not be considered a landlord.
Yeah. Are Brujar talkative types?
Oh yeah. You'd rather have them talkative than not.
Okay.
Than the alternative.
Yeah. Maybe
They're a very reckless bunch.
The notes on Gallagher and his associates, incidentally, are definitely less full than most of the others. Presumably because of how recently they've arrived.
I'm also interested.
Go on.
No.
No, you want Oscar.
I was just going to say I'm also interested in if there are any Tremere mentioned.
The only suspected Tremere, as far as Jack is concerned, is Aish.
Okay. Yeah.
And being as you're in her file, it also mentions that her territory is Hillingdon. Hillingdon is right next to Southall, where you met her.
Okay.
Is there anything about the Sabat pack that we hadn't already clogged?
No, not really. It's observations of them individually. I mean, the actual descriptions of them, other than Olive, who was the only survivor, weren't known to any of you apart from Alex, who had a vision of their demise. But yeah, it all tallies. You know, they had a haven in Cold Harbour, etc., etc. There's nothing really extra on
It's
there.
not like a secret bit where it says they were the real landlords all along.
No, nothing like that.
All right, fair enough.
I'm going to go back myself and ask: is there any mention of King of Shadows that we can find? Well, actually, I don't know about that, do I? So I'm not.
Nope.
I'm not going to ask that.
But
Sorry.
now that you say it, from the ones you've looked in, there certainly isn't any mention of the King of Shadows. Certainly nothing like this person. I think they're the King of Shadows.
Like the last thing I hear right now is Oscar going, "What about the King of Shadows?" like just over my shoulder, and we going like breaks the laptop. Oh dear.
So, is that us kind of done with these files for the night?
Yeah, I think Mandrill would be saying, if we have nothing else, I'd rather get back to doing something like eating, or if you guys have nothing else to look at.
Is there any talk in any of them about owls?
That would definitely require looking through them in detail.
There's lots
Control
of
F.
scowls.
The
And
easy
there's a-
headline notes
One
he
of them
made
likes the-
were like, clans and territory. There wasn't an easy access entry for any of them for has owl, doesn't have owl.
This one here is listed as really liking superb owls. Oh wait, no, that's American football.
Wee.
That is not deserving of a way. So
Way.
let's move forward. So the other thing that was agreed for this evening, I believe, was that Alex and Oscar are going to write these letters. I think there's enough salient details about Rowena and Rose. You can drop bits in to make you think that you know them. You could mention to Rowena like, oh, can we see you at Regent's Park, etc., etc. Neill.
I'm also going to at some point slip in somehow, without having to explain it in too much detail to Oscar, that I have also studied mythology at great length, and I would love to discuss with her if she has any insights to the parable of the bull.
Mythology.
Sure. Well, why don't before you do that, perhaps we can make. I see. In the letter, I see. Yes, yes. I get this. Well, while you do that, why don't you make me a roll?
Sure, I can do that.
So why don't you make me a resolve plus awareness roll? Can you remember what the difficulty we set was last time?
I think it was only 3 or something. I just failed it terribly.
Yeah, well, let's. Well, if you failed it terribly, let's set it at 3 again. That's fine. You usually nail these with like 8s or something. So
Alex only has 2 modes.
So I'm wondering whether I want to re-roll the messy critical or not, because I feel that doing a messy critical at this point would be bad, and Alex would be trying to restrain themselves. So yes, I will. Oh, good. That's much better. That's much better.
Tears off my finger.
3, 4, 5, 6 successes, as opposed to what I would have had, which was 8 with a critical.
So essentially, exactly as you're discussing placing this motif in there, your like eyes fall on Oscar's hand writing away. Oscar, at the mention of mythical bulls, would you go, oh?
Oh yeah, by the way, interestingly enough, I got this like little knick-knack. Yeah, little bull thing. Huh. Coincidence. And then I keep writing.
Excuse me, Oscar. Could I see that a moment?
Oh yeah, sure. And I take it off and I hand it to Alex.
Unless you're going to do it, I'm immediately using premonition on the ring.
What? Unless I'm going to trigger it? No.
Unless you're going to trigger one for me, I'm certainly
I'm
going to do so deliberately, if I may.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I thought you were talking to me, and I'm like, premonition.
No.
I now see Oscar doing Taste of Blood, just like.
So I gain 6 successes and a hunger.
Okay.
And it's a bronze ring, isn't it?
It is a bronze. I believe I said it was bronze with some little like low quality gold detailing.
Yeah, it was like very cheap. Was the thing like not a?
So the premonition you get from the ring, I know what a lot of the premonitions we've had before have been almost like visions for Alex. This isn't quite like that. This is more like an echo. Like you can feel perhaps that it's like it. Perhaps in Alex's mind, it's like a spider web, and everything is linking together, and everything is strung. If you could think of a more Alex metaphor, I'm happy to use it. Everything is strung and linked together like a fine gold spider web across London, and you desperately need to find what has woven this web, where the center of it leads you, where it spirals down to. And this ring you feel is just something on the edge, just tripping that fine gold spider web. Another sign that you're on the correct path and leading in the right direction. But of itself, you're not sure it has any relevance. but it's another. You're on, it's a signpost, but one that doesn't direct you anywhere.
It's a sign, but like any normal wooden sign, the sign itself isn't very important.
Correct.
Excellent. I go, oh, how fortuitous, and I'll hand it back.
And it is, of course, up to Alex how Alex interprets what this sign is leading to. Which I know Neill knows that. But
Alex isn't going to interpret it as definitely to make sure that there's the bull metaphor goes in, or reference goes into this document, this letter.
Yeah. But and just throwing this out there, but make of it what you will. Could be interesting for Alex to feel that something is linked to Oscar in some way. I'm not saying that means anything. I just think that'd be great for roleplay.
Oh no.
But entirely up to you, obviously, your character. So, with that in mind, what does the group feel the next task they're going to address is? You've been given a number of tasks, but you've only just kind of sent those letters off. We can say that they've gone off now with the ghoul has attached them to a pigeon on the roof of Down Street and sent them off. The task that was assigned to you that seemed to be quite urgent was Camden and the Annex. Now, and I'm asking this blatantly as someone who's trying to set up an appropriate ending for this session, is the intent to go to Camden at some point very soon? And shall we do that now to perhaps provide a nice little coda for the session?
Hint.
It's up to you.
Yes.
It's up to you. If you want to put in a load of prep for it, I'm just saying it seemed urgent, but if you still want to put in a load of prep for it, then we can do that instead. I'm not forcing you.
I mean, let's go. We know enough about this guy.
I will. I presume we're going to be in the room while Manuel is still tapping away.
Yeah,
this conversation.
absolutely.
Unless there is anything more that you can discover about him, I would agree with Oscar. Looking at Manuel, who may or may not realize.
Tim, you're talking about
Gallagher.
Gallagher.
Yes.
I don't know. Personally, I only see myself really being of much use skulking around this job for, was it Brazil? But, if you want to talk to the Annex, then I'm more than happy to join you doing so.
Well, there's nothing to say you can't skulk around Camden.
You're so good at skulking.
Given there are many anarchs, I feel that having all of us there
That's certainly true.
Would not cause us any harm.
And it does also seem that this job for Brazil, you're basically waiting on Brazil.
Okay, I was kind of confused about whether the implication was that Brazil wants it done urgently or whether Brazil didn't want it done urgently.
He's going to come to Down Street with the details for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you saying that now. Yeah.
Okay.
In that case.
Okay, yeah, let's set off to Camden. Justin, can you do our distance measuring? And Camden's not far from Mayfair, but I just want to see how far it's going to take you to walk along there. But it shouldn't be long. I think it's probably about half an hour, 45 minutes.
What do you want to put bets
15
on?
minutes.
15 come on, don't be mad.
15 minutes is more like Soho.
It's 15 minutes in the car. It's an hour's walk.
It's an hour's walk. Okay. Are we going to walk there?
Yeah, taxi.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Do we need to use Bus of Life before going anywhere?
Not before going anywhere, but if you intend to interact closely with humans, I would recommend it.
I do not, because I have high hunger.
Sure.
I would say, considering what happened last time we were in Camden, a certain amount of prudence might be not being hungry, not being dead, and perhaps if we do decide to take a taxi, stop outside of Camden. As we don't want.
While I appreciate that it's an opportunity for roleplay, I don't think we need to micromanage our transport to Camden quite so much.
That's fine.
I'm looking at the clock for a start.
Okay.
So you can get to Camden however you like. It literally does not matter. But if you walk or take a taxi, whatever. You reach Camden at night. Now, for a start, let's say that those of you who've dwelled in London before, which is all of you to some degree, Camden is usually rather bustling at night. It is unusually not so. There is no night market. And in fact, even the streets are relatively empty. You walk past a number of pubs and bars. They are relatively empty as well. It's almost, there's an odd tension to the air. And as you walk past, there's a number of, for people who don't live in Britain, I don't know how common they are elsewhere, but there are kind of signs outside newsagents and shops with local kind of headlines plastered all over them. And one says, another missing. See paper for full details. As you are walking along down a road, you're walking through one of the Camden market areas, and all the stalls are kind of around you. Can I get a wits plus awareness roll from all of you, please? Difficulty 3.
Does instincts count?
No.
Ooh, I want to willpower reroll.
3 successes.
3 successes as well.
3s all round. Justin, how'd you do?
Muted.
You're muted.
I got nothing. Zilch. Nada.
Okay. Well, the three of you, so everyone but Mandrill, basically as you're walking along this market area, as you're kind of just going into Camden now, there's a side street off from where you are that leads down that has a kind of load of shuttered shops that are closed for the evening. And there is a single lone figure stood kind of further down that road, stood very still, facing you.
Cool.
In a very stood with intent.
I'm going to I want to pay attention to if there's any place where people might come out at the sides, like to our flanks.
It's a very open area, honestly.
Okay.
People would have a lot of trouble creeping up on you.
Okay. I feel
as kind of Oscar looks around to do this, obviously Arthur and Alex are also aware of this figure. Are you going to make Mandrill aware, I'm assuming?
I'll give her a nudge in the ribs.
Sorry, I was
watched.
The figure stood there on the side street goes, you kind of can't see them. There's there's the street lights are behind them, and they just go.
I see them now.
I wave.
I will start walking over.
I stop
I'll-
waving.
I'll do likewise and smile pleasantly now that we have no choice but to go over.
Yeah.
As you start walking towards them, they kind of lean back and bellow out in the night air at the top of their lungs. Hey, everyone! Vampires are real! And they turn and run.
We should leave.
What a peculiar person. Let us find somewhere nicer to spend the evening. And I say that reasonably loudly.
Clearly some kind of madman. Right.
Are we going to follow them?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. I'm No, I'm exchanging a look with the group and I'm running after them.
Oh god. And then I follow.
Okay.
The
Alex?
day I have to run to keep up after Arthur Norris will be the day that Mandrill hangs up everything.
I will wait a moment and use heightened senses to just look around me quickly to see if I can spot any obvious snipers with laser sights or something dotted around.
No, you're stood in, as far as you can tell, an empty nighttime market.
Oscar, are you running after Alex? Wait, no. So who's running? Arthur's
I
running,
am.
and Alex is slowly following, and Oscar is
Puffily, like trying to
jogging.
catch up.
Well, I'm probably
Yeah.
matching your speed then.
Okay.
And I probably would say to you as we're going, you know that the reason that we're sent to do these kinds of things is because if we die, no one cares.
Ah.
So, Arthur, you round a corner after the guy and realize that he's running. Basically, there's a market which is out on like a pier front. Okay, it's going out onto the river. And it's just kind of, I'm not sure if it'll be a tributary of the Thames in Camden. It won't be the Thames itself, will it? There is like anyway, it can't be, right? It's too far north. Anyway,
No,
it doesn't matter. Or like a canal or something.
The Regent's Canal.
Regent's Canal, beautiful, and it's like basically like a waterfront pier that's out on a jetty, and he dashes out onto it again. Like the other marketplace, it's completely empty, and he dashes out onto it and kind of stands at the end of that pier, like not too far ahead of you now. Like wasn't going that fast, honestly, and turns around about 30 feet away from you and kind of mimes falling into the canal, like oh. He's gonna get me. He's gonna drink my blood.
Is he?
I might do.
Look, you're utterly mad, but can't we just stop being silly and talk?
I'm going to say that at this point, Mandrill and Oscar will have caught up. Alex, are you still staying kind of behind those two, or are you kind of...
Yes, I will be a safe distance, not like really far behind, but far enough behind that I can hear what's going on without being jumped as easily if something happens.
Okay, so you're maintaining a distance. Mandrill and Oscar, you're kind of like, you can just come up to where Arthur is now if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
How close are we to the individual?
About 30 feet away. Because you're about halfway up this jetty and the individual's right at the end of it. As you come up kind of flush with Arthur, the individual stops miming, falling in, and goes, yeah, we can talk. And Alex sees it, but the other three of you hear splashing noises from the canal as figures pull themselves out of the water and clamber up onto the edge of the marketplace and basically surround the way off at the back of you. Alex, you're on the other side of them. One of them, like a couple of them, are looking over to where you are and just going, like they know you're there, and they're not bothered that one of you is not caught in their kind of little ambush. And as the others kind of, they're not closing in tightly around you, but they're certainly standing around you. They're jeering at you, calling you any number of names. And then one of them strides forward from the group. He's wearing leather jacket, jeans, has kind of like a mop of curly dyed black hair, and a white t-shirt with kind of like just a Coca-Cola logo on it. He's kind of scrawny but oddly compelling. And he strides forward and goes, oh, Cammy, you've made a real mistake. And we'll end it there for the night, I think.
Flipping Alex, what can you do?
Can't live with them.
Can't eat them.
Can't govern them. Can't any number of things. Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, we do a kind of FAQ and comments thing after the stream. So if anyone's got any questions or comments, please feel free to pop them in chat and Steve will pop them up for us. Otherwise, I'll do the ending blurb. So we've got a number of links below. There's social media, which is usually Telltales RP. We've got a link to our YouTube where all our VODs are stored if you want to watch things back from the beginning. We also have a Patreon if you love us enough to sponsor us. We run another series on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday at 8 o'clock GMT, which is Simbaroom, the wonderful dark fantasy system from Free League. And we also have monthly one-offs. We did the first one this last Saturday gone of the Alien RPG, also from Free League. And the first VOD from that has now gone up on our YouTube, but it's also still available to watch here on Twitch, should you want to. Ooh, I think that's everything.
That was quite good as well.
It's everything smooth as silk. Well, I don't think we've got any questions or comments tonight. So thank you, as always, to the players. Thank you to Steve for being an excellent stream manager. And thanks to you for watching. And we'll see you next Tuesday, 8 o'clock GMT, for more London Ascendant. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.